So I'm talking about millennials today, but in order to understand millennials, Gen Ys, you have to first really understand the generational context. So here's a video, and excuse a little bit of the, there's a little bit of a comment in there that might be...
To find someone new to mentor?
It's impossible. I would never say this to her face, but Lennon is above average. She's got just the right amount of dick for me. I hear it and I don't care. I've cast a wide net, but even the junior executives here, there's something wrong with this generation.
Hey, Jack. Sorry I'm late. BT Dubs, I gotta leave for my ironic kickball league in about 10. Also, I'm not interested in this position unless I'm gonna be constantly praised. And I won't cut my hair.
So as you can tell, there are some generational stereotypes for Gen Y. As you can see, apparently we're very lazy, we're entitled, and we think we know everything. And if you can see in the media, it's actually been negatively portrayed. It's really stoked the fire when it comes to solidifying the fact that Gen Ys are horrible to work with. But if you actually look at the media nowadays, what we're finding is that there's a little bit of a shift in perception on Gen Ys. Maybe it's not entirely their fault. And if you look at this very famous Time magazine, what it says here is the me generation. Millennials are lazy, entitled narcissists who still live with their parents. Why? They'll save us all. And if you actually look into a little bit more of the information, what you'll notice is that Gen Ys are the first generation to be coddled. Coddled meaning their parents actually stay around, they talk to them a lot, they actually guide a lot of their thought process, and they're actually partly their best friends. In fact, parents actually take pride in the fact that their kids have straight A's, they're they're fantastic piano players or violinists. That may be an Asian thing. But essentially, as you can see my bias here, what we found here is that a lot of Gen Ys are actually held to higher academic standards than ever before, and they're actually reaching it. What we also know is that about 30% of jobs nowadays used to require high school diplomas, now require university diplomas. So you can kind of see the shift there. Now, when we look at Gen Xers, and I do feel bad for Gen Xers because they probably have the worst reputation of us all. They were seen as cynical, they had lack of direction, they were really disengaged. But if you actually look at Kurt Cobain, he was apparently lead singer of Nirvana, for those of you who don't know. And what was interesting about him was that he was really expressing the voice of Gen X, apparently. And he apparently had an angsty upbringing, so he felt his parents were divorced, his mother was in an abusive relationship, his father was basically remarried even though he promised not to. So if you actually look at Gen Xers, you find why. Because a lot of Gen Xers were actually what they call latchkey kids, meaning that when they went home, their parents weren't really around, they were asked to be adults at a very young age, held a lot of responsibility at that younger age. And if you look at, The Breakfast Club, which is the classic Gen X movie, I don't know if you guys have all watched it, but the idea is a bunch of individuals who are very diverse, from the jock to the outcast to the popular girl, got together at detention and actually related to each other based on the fact that they had family issues. Now, boomer stereotypes. I think that this kind of stereotype is probably the most off, I would say. Because boomer stereotypes is that they're technophobes, they're set in their ways, they're hard to work with, they're not progressive. I don't think this is true at all. Now, there's a huge example right there, Steve Jobs. He's head of technology, well, was. And the thing is with technology, for boomers, 78% of them actually use the internet, and about 45% of them are on social media. So all these stereotypes, I think, are a little bit off. If we look at the boomer movie for boomers growing up, if we kind of look at boomers growing up, the biggest impact is really the social cultural movement, right? And if you look at Sound of Music, it actually attends to a little bit of the relationship they had with their parents. Parents were authority figures, they were icons. It wasn't someone you had dinner, oh, my boyfriend this or my boyfriend, you don't have your personal conversations with your parents. It was in the movie, you see, the parent comes home, walks to the door, you're lined up, you say hi. So how does that actually translate translated to the workplace. Let's take a look. I took some slides from the XY Boom conference because that has a little bit more expertise in HR. So what you notice is that they really like diplomacy, democracy in the workplace. They also like to be treated as equals, and they like to be working towards a larger goal at the end of the day. And they see technology as a valuable tool, but it does not replace personal relationships. Now, let's look at Gen Xers. Gen Xers, I told you a little bit about their independence growing up. Well, they like the independence in the workplace. They like to be assigned a job and told that they have to do it, and they'll accomplish it. And in return, they like competent leaders. What they also appreciate is the fact that they know that technology is necessary, so they're willing to communicate on those mediums. But again, doesn't totally replace the personal relationships. So Gen Ys love workplace integration. What that means is that if you look at the university lifestyle, it's kind of like that. You know, that you're assigned something and it doesn't require you to show up in class necessarily, but at the end of the day, you're qualified based on the results. Your results. Did you get an A+ on that? And you can get an A+ without showing up, without really reading the textbook till the last minute. So that's kind of the perspective that they have. Mind you, there's also another stereotype that says that they're all about the social results, right? Oh, I want to work for an organization that has a social meaning. I agree with that, but I mean, they can accomplish that in their personal life. At the end of the day, they just want to understand how this all works together and how it actually helps with their personal growth. So at my workplace, the marketing agency that Lisa was mentioning, we have a ton of Gen Ys because we're obviously young. And so we have a lot of one-on-one in the interviews, and during that time what we do is I talk about how I want to grow the company, they talk about how they want to grow their career, and we figure out a plan that works together. And it's pretty simple, and I'm very clear about what I expect. I expect you to show up 10 minutes early, I expect you to be working 90% of the time, and you can watch videos, you can listen to music, but get your tasks done. So I'm pretty straightforward as to what I expect, and I think that's how you should communicate with Gen Ys as well. The other aspect is that I treat everybody like an expert. Every month, one employee presents something that they're knowledgeable about to the team, and we rotate between that. That helps us keep on top of industry trends, and that also helps us grow as a team together. But at the end of the day, generational theories provide us a lens. They don't define a generation, it doesn't define a person, it informs you. So when you're talking about appealing to all generations, what you're thinking about is that everybody wants to be respected, everybody wants to be listened to, and everyone just wants to grow. So if you're having trouble with an individual, my suggestion is sit down, ask them what they want, ask them what they expect, be really explicit about what it is that you want them to do. Because, we all have different perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that and for reminding me that I am a diehard Gen X. Breakfast Club, woo! I love that movie.